Hi Moglets! Today is the day we raise Flins. He's an incredibly cool character, both design-wise and power-wise, so pretty excited to get started here. We did most of the farming and literal raising for him on stream, but y'all know how that works by now. Even so, it wouldn't be a raising mode without a beep 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 beep. There weren't any major hurdles in raising him, to be honest. Unlike Lauma, we didn't need to start from zero. We had a decent amount of enemy mats already, and we could get the rest from the recently reset shop. And boom, there he is, level 90. But now that he's raised, let's go ahead and do the good old talent to Constellation overview. Flynn's basic attack on its own is not that important, but his elemental skill does several things. It transforms his basics into Electro, which can't be overridden by other effects like Bennett's Burst. It increases his resistance to interruption, so he won't get knocked around as easily. And finally, it changes his elemental skill to a different attack. Upon using this transformed skill, he'll attack and transform his burst into something different as well. By default, his burst acts like most others. He'll expend all energy to do a big attack, followed by 3 to 5 smaller attacks that are considered lunar charge damage. If there's a thundercloud created from lunar charge, you get all 5. Generally, you don't do his normal burst though. Much like Vrissa, he has a short burst with less energy cost, a shorter animation time, and it's all considered lunar charge damage. Like his normal burst, you get 1 or 2 hits depending on if there's a thundercloud nearby. Again, he can only use his short burst after the transformed E skill, so the plan would be to do that as soon as possible. Since the E skill has a 6-second cooldown, you can usually fit 2 short bursts in per rotation, while weaving in some electro normal attacks while you wait for the cooldown. Flins gets various buffs depending on your Gleam level. Currently this caps out at 2 Nodcry characters, and since Flins is 1, you only need 1 more. Currently the best would be Aino or Ineffa. It is required to have this second Nodcry character to get the extra burst hits, but also with his A1 passive he'll get an additional 20% buff to lunar charge damage. Flins also has the same base damage buff to lunar charge damage Ineffa has, capping out at 14% if he has 2000 attack. And finally up to 160 elements mastery based on attack. To get the full bonus, he again needs 2000 attack. Moving on to Constellations, his C1 is already super good. It does change his rotation a bit due to reducing the special E skill's cooldown to 4 seconds. This means he can now perform up to 3 short bursts per rotation instead of 2. C1 also provides him with extra energy to combat the use of a third burst. It's not enough to totally cover it, but it definitely helps. C2 is Electro Res Shred and additional direct lunar charge damage. Overall, a really good Constellation as well. C3 is burst levels, where the majority of his damage comes from, so it's also quite good. C4, as usual, is just okay, but it's not energy regen for once. Basically 20% attack and 60 extra EM from his passive. C5 is skill levels, which is pretty bad compared to burst. And finally, C6, of course, is godly. Essentially, it's the most pure form of damage increase. Whatever the final number would be after every other calc is run gets an increase by this amount. For Flins, he can get both buffs here, so 45% lunar charge damage for him. The rest of the team gets 10% for LC damage too, acting in the same way, so it's pretty nice for Ineffa's direct LC damage and the actual reaction as a whole. Flins is honestly one of the first characters I'm tempted to say C6 is actually worth it, but for most I'd say C1 is the best stopping point. C2 and C3 are definitely good as well, but obviously wouldn't go past that unless you're C6ing him. As far as talents are concerned, I personally like to get the useful ones up to 8, so we are going 1-8-8. The actual normal attack skill, as it often is totally useless for Flins, because even though he does use normal attacks in his rotation, they use the elemental skills damage multipliers. Burst is still more important than skill, I just have them at 8 because that's how I do things. Moving on to builds, starting with weapon. This is always a little hard when we're talking about DPSs here because I'm restricting myself to a 4-star weapon for raising modes most of the time, and since we do have his 5-star signature sitting there, I feel like it'd be a bit of a waste to, raise his potentially best 4-star. Regardless, we are going Missive Windspear today. If you're not fully free to play, Deathmatch is a really good option for him as well. The new craftable polearm that came with Nodcry is also quite good. Almost seems specifically to be the free-to-play 4-star option for Flins. So if you have nothing better, that'll be a pretty good option also. When it comes to artifacts, we're obviously going to be using his signature set. It's quite amazing since it gives him 30 crit rate. It's really hard to recommend anything else here, but if you plan to take Farina, I guess Hunter set is fine, though Farina as a Flins teammate is a different topic. Besides that, if you want a good Flins, you should really just get to farming the domain. In the meantime, if you have great gilded pieces, you can use that, or just 2 2-piece sets with attack or EM. It was our first time raising artifacts for him here, and my god, we had some with insane promise. Not only that, but they ended up rolling super well. This flower, for example, was a 4-sub start double crit, and upon maxing it, it hit the crit stats 3 times. Definitely not too bad. Our highest potential flower was only 3 sub start and had no crit rate, but 3 other good stats. And considering he gets a ton of crit rate from his artifact set, I think it's okay. It also just rolled super well, twice into attack, twice into crit damage. Our attack Sans also had huge potential, but unfortunately rolled pretty poorly, as you can see here. He does like all the stats here, but not as much as crit, so I used my second ever reroll item and it turned out much better. Maybe they're not such a scam after all. We are also going attack Goblet because electro damage doesn't do much for lunar charged, and I'll just let the roll speak for itself. Pretty cracked. But yeah, since we don't have any really good circlets, we're just going off piece. Good old legendary Lava Walker for him. And so here are his final stats. I'd say they're okay, especially for using Missive Wind Spear, but even with the 30 crit rate from his set, 78 crit rate to 222 crit damage isn't ideal. The low energy recharge is most likely okay, at least until C1 where we need a bit more. And at 2500 attack, this is plenty to max out his passives. Talking about teams now, the core of most Flins teams have Ineffa. There's no getting around it, they are insanely good teammates. But if you don't have Ineffa, she can be replaced with a different Electro. Then you're essentially locked into using Aino, as you really should have two Notcry characters. I plan to use all three together anyway, as my Aino is C6 and provides a decent buff to lunar reactions. The typical fourth in a lunar charged focus team like this is Sucrose, which is nice as most people have her. She can shred Electro Res with Viridescent, which does increase lunar charge damage, and being Animo, she won't mess up the reactions either. So yeah, I'd say this team is a pretty good starting point. If your Aino isn't C6 or you don't have Ineffa, you can swap one of them out with various other characters of the same element. Some solid options are currently cycling through, but there are nuances here which would take too long to explain. If you see a combination of units you have and are invested in, I'd recommend looking a bit deeper into it. But yeah, we'll be starting with this team. The only new thing since the Lauma showcase is Imaginarium Theater. Generally, I don't like to do this for showcases because, you know, we have to use a bunch of other units, and it's like, besides that, we would have to at least get Aino to 70, so that might be also a little annoying. I mean, yeah, we've already done Abyss, but just to see how the team performs, you know, get a little bit used to it. Of course, because this is the lunar charged Abyss, I don't expect to have much issue, but, you know, just to see how it works. Flins actually should not be first in the team, but whatever. So yeah, we're just gonna start with her. You know, we do gotta be a little bit careful with Aino still. I will get around to raising her, but all right, let's go ahead and do that. Boom. Oh my god, okay, he is so strong, it is stupid. Boom, we could still get 2 short bursts off, which is nice. Of course, for now, we are just gonna be trying to do the reactions here to get that shield away. And then, sure, I guess now we can go ahead and go back to Flins. Just basically double tap the R1 here, spamming some normals until that is off cooldown. As you can see, we like don't really have much energy issue in there, and there we go. I think, oh my god, I mean, probably pretty easily one rotation him if everything went a little better, but that may have been at least close to the fastest I've ever killed that guy. But all right, let's check out floor 2 here. Aino's still alive. Good. Back to Flins. Oh no. Well, sure. I mean, that's fine. Look at that. He just one-shot those guys. That was pretty sick. We probably can't do a short burst now, I reckon, because we used all of his energy, but his full burst looks so cool. It'd be a shame to like never see it. You know what I mean? I don't know if we have all buffs currently. Also quite a hard enemy here. All right, we can go back to Flins now. Go ahead and do that. Get the burst in there. He is disabled, so he should be taking some decent damage here. One more for the road. Okay, yeah, that didn't turn out so well. I still have to get a bit used to the rotation, especially because Flins is like in the wrong spot. Not trying to give myself excuses or anything, but it was still pretty good. And here we go, last floor here, got Aino's burst, that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and swirl that with Sucrose. Would be kind of cool to get her burst, I guess, but we're not going to sit around and wait for it. There we go, first short. Yeah, I mean, it's like 300k, dude. She died so fast. And then we have the robot dude here. Go ahead and do another short burst. Dude, look at that, that is so crazy. We'll go ahead and do Ineffa's burst there. Aino, okay, he summoned the robots, unfortunately, very quick here. But we can go ahead and do that with Sucrose. Very nice, very nice. And then back to Flins we go. Go ahead and do that. Short burst. Here we go. Just gonna keep spamming, you know, basics until this is back. And then another short burst. Almost one rotation. Did I just see a nearly 500k? Again, with a tiny bit more power, we can one rotation this guy. So, like, you know, I can't even imagine God mode right now. But yeah, that was really impressive. To be totally honest, I was mainly focused on the cooldown of his skill, because if you take a little too long, you won't be able to get the second short burst, so you really have to pay attention to that. But I'll probably point out some impressive looking numbers right here, just as a reference, I suppose. I would say Flins himself is very, you know, free to play friendly right now with Missive Wind Spear and C0 and all that. However, I do, of course, understand that we have a C1 Ineffa with her signature, a C6 Aino, and a C6 Sucrose, which, I guess, like, you know, she is an OG character. I imagine most people probably have her C6 by now, but yeah. I also raised Wandering Even Star for Sucrose. I did consider just giving her Thrilling Tales and calling it a day, but considering Ineffa also scales with attack, you know, I kind of thought maybe the full team-wide buff would be good, and it doesn't force Flins to come directly after Sucrose. Right now, that's the case anyway, but sometimes the rotation gets a bit messed up and you gotta improvise, and then, you know, you might not get the Thrilling Tales next time. But yeah, this isn't really a Sucrose build video. I guess I'm just gonna, you know, kind of tell you what I have in the team. We do have 4-piece Silken Moon, level 20. I gave her Favonius. I think she still has way too much ER, yeah, like 260%. But it's nice to make absolutely sure that, you know, when she comes on field, she basically has her burst. We might be able to, you know, give her a different greatsword. I didn't have energy issues at all in the team. We could do everyone's burst all the time, which was nice. Though to be fair, I do just randomly skip Ineffa sometimes. But yeah, I mean, there's the team. One thing we could do is switch Ineffa out with a different Electro and, you know, see if we can still get through Abyss pretty easily. I imagine it's not that uncommon that people got Flins that don't have Ineffa, especially because I think the general player base doesn't really keep up with leaks and who's going to be good with who before they're actually released and all that. So it's like, yeah, I have heard Eonsan is good. I personally don't want to take care of having to run around, you know, to keep the buff up, because Flins doesn't naturally move around a lot like maybe Verissa. Since we won't have a shield anymore, perhaps some level of healing might not be bad. I mean, honestly, for now, I'm just gonna use Fischl. All right, let's see how this goes. Just gonna start with that there, boom, boom. Sure, we'll go ahead and do that. All the good stuff, and then here we go with Flins. Short burst. I don't know where she went, but all right. Should be able to do that again, boom, and then boom, she's dead. Very nice, very nice. Okay, mustache is over there. That's kind of my fault, I got mixed up. Okay, here we go, finally. We'll see. I mean, actually, wait, we're still doing like a ton of damage here. That's crazy. Kaboom. I mean, yeah, it is noticeable not having Ineffa here, but like, it was still really fast. Flins is unfortunately kind of hurting a little bit, so we're gonna have to be careful here. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work. I am really missing Ineffa's shield more than anything. I mean, there we go. We could still do it, I guess, and do the last short burst on this guy. Ow, ow, this dude hurts. Mathematically, I know we are losing, you know, quite a bit of damage. I just don't feel it that hard. What I definitely do feel is the lack of any sort of protection and or healing. I mean, sure, that is definitely in part skill issue, but some of the enemies just kind of inflict statuses that are bad, and it's a pretty fragile team anyway, you know. We'll try Kuki. We, of course, are going to lose more damage from not having Fischl, but the main goal is to get through it. It is an Elements Mastery key Kuki, so, you know, maybe we get some, like, decent, lunar charge stuff. Anyway, here we go. Boom, go ahead and do the short burst there. So hopefully she's dead by the second short burst. That would be best. Yes, she is, I think. Yeah, here we go. I think it's this one, right? Yeah. Oh no, I just did his big burst again. What a big waste. He is out of his mode. That's almost like restart worthy. But we're gonna see what we can do here. If I recall correctly, it is capable of like more damage than 2 short bursts, but like the other things, like mainly the lower energy cost, makes the short burst generally better. Even so, I do want to retry that. What is she doing? Oh my god, she's getting bounced around everywhere. The first short burst missed. That was so cringe. I didn't know the Mirror Maidens could get knocked around that aggressively. One more Kuki E and then back to Flins, I guess. The rotation already got a little bit weird here, but you know what? As long as we can do it before he starts like doing stuff, I will be happy with that. And we got super close. He is doing stuff now, but I will consider it a win as long as we can kill him before he goes back in hat form. And okay, there we go. Probably a little close there. And now we're gonna be trying this floor, which we couldn't break past last time. Yeah. Damn, dude. This guy sucks. I remember at one point he like gets disabled. When is that gonna happen? Okay, I think it just did. There we go. Now we can do some like decent stuff, I guess. Wait. What? Why? Why can I not swap out? Why? Oh. Is this the buff they were talking about? Do we not have internet anymore? I literally still can't swap out characters. I'm also not taking damage, which I guess is something. Okay, there it goes. Boss was that scared I'm going to kill him with that scuffed team. Yeah, we need more energy apparently. Oh, well, we could get it barely. We got pretty close, but damn, I am feeling the lack of Ineffa. That's crazy. This one is looking slightly better. Honestly, if we can kill him like during his first disable phase or whatever, that would be ideal. And we were so close. Maybe if we just played a tiny bit better, that would work. That would also be like under a minute and a half, which is kind of my mark, you know, for a successful team there. Aino's dead. Damn, look at that one. This one was so close, dude. No way. Oh, that was weird. Why did that freeze so long? But we got through it, and I don't think anyone died. Woo! And here we go at the final chamber. Kuki is looking a little worse for wear, but that's because she eats her own HP to cast the healing, and then I just like don't stay on field with her at all after that, but whatever. So we're starting with this single enemy here. Would be cool if we can kill him and then use this short burst on the next. Yeah, the actual boss here. Probably worth a restart here, but we're gonna keep trying anyway. Is that dude still? Oh, that's freaking Aino's burst. What's wrong with me, dude? I'm restarting. Okay, that should be his shield gone. Yes, indeed. Now he should be disabled for a few minutes here, or I wish. Here we go anyway. So the rotation kind of starts now. This one's actually going way better than the other guy. We should be able to get one more short burst off. There we go. We'll try and survive with Kuki for a second here. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going way slower than when we had Ineffa. There's like no comparison. He resummoned the balls. I think it's definitely possible to do it before he does this. Yeah, I mean, it still didn't take that much longer than a minute and a half. Yeah, 149. Let's see if we can at least get that down to like 130. I think Flins needs a little bit more energy, at least in this team. He resummoned the balls again. Well, how much faster can we do it? Like if we're focusing on the balls here, because I know they do damage to him as well, so... Yeah, I think we at least got it to around 140. Yeah, 143. Better. Look at that one. That was so close, actually. Before he got the balls. Well, point taken, I guess. Yeah, Ineffa's really good with Flins. I mean, I think the bigger problem was that Kuki herself doesn't do, like, any damage at all, so we were essentially losing a team spot for the sake of healing. I at least wanted to explore Ineffa-less teams, but that's obviously not to say, like, Flins can't be good without Ineffa, you know? But something I'm just now appreciating is, in fact, the shield, and I really just didn't even think about that, because it usually comes second to the buffs and personal damage Ineffa has. But alright, I guess that'll do it for the raising mode. Overall, very fun character. He looks cool. He is strong with Ineffa. I mean, he's still pretty strong without Ineffa, but yeah, there's a pretty big difference there. If you have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing if you enjoyed is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.